Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Daiderson Chauskas. Today's the 13th of July 2018, so Friday the 13th. We're gonna in this afternoon traders tea time session, we're gonna have a look at a few instruments which I normally don't kind of look at, but I think it's still nevertheless quite important to keep on monitoring them. A few maybe exotic pairs as well, so we'll go through those just for something, like to keep an eye on, because maybe we could potentially squeeze something out of them. So, but before we do that, of course, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content of this webinar does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Also, just a very quick reminder of our JFD Brokers research page, where you can go and have a look at different analysis that we do on a daily basis. We throw out different trading shoutouts. Of course, we produce our daily analysis, which we throw out every morning. So feel free to check that one out on Monday as well. So on Tuesday, the following days. So, but now, guys, let's jump into the charts. The ones that I really wanted to show you. So the first one I want to touch on is Nikkei. So the Nikkei continues to push higher. Certainly still away, kind of a few points away, let's say like that, from these highs that we saw here in June, on the 12th of June, and then of course in May here, around the 21st of May. Certainly at the moment it seems like this is where the path holds, and it seems that we're gonna end up moving towards this area right here, this strong area of potential resistance at around 23,050. Now keep an eye on that one, guys. We could, like I said, we could next week maybe make our ways here towards this level. And this is where it's going to become probably more interesting, because if we do get a nice break here eventually above this level here, above this 23,050, well, this could turn out to be quite nice for Nikkei, and we could end up maybe pushing towards this 23,500 level that acted as a nice area of resistance here on the 1st of February this year. So certainly further acceleration in the price. I mean, we could see this break of this level, and then we could end up moving towards the all-time highs that we saw here in January to 22nd, around the 22nd of January here, and the that level was 24,140. Now certainly at this point it's too early to kind of look at these levels, but nevertheless, just to kind of something to keep in mind on our minds. If we do get a break here above the 23,050, this could open the path towards these levels that I've just talked about. Certainly initially just keep an eye on this 23,050, maybe even actually could act as a good area of resistance, and we could see maybe the price dropping lower again. So this is something, like I said, this is something for you to kind of keep an eye on. Certainly for now, for entering trades here, we could examine this area here, this potential area of resistance, which if gets broken, this is when we could start examining this level, the 23,050 that I was just talking about. So a nice break above this, and an especially nice close above this level, the 22,700, could open the path towards this area right here. Certainly always be aware of any potential reversals, and that's why I always have a stop loss in place. Just to also point out the fact that for now, the reason why it's also looking quite bullish, because we can see that it continues to hold on to this upside support line that has been running here since around September 2017. Until that line is broken, I mean, we're probably going to stay more positive on the longer term picture, and especially, like I said, if we do get a nice break here above this 23,050 mark. So something for you guys to keep an eye on. you'll be the judge. Based on what I've said, you be the judge where you want to enter a position on this one. Looking at a few pairs now, the ones that I really highlighted. Now again, this is not my favorite pair, but nevertheless I do keep an eye on it, because just to kind of, you probably understand, and some of you maybe will support me on this one, because it kind of moves chaotically, and even though, yeah, it sometimes finds a trend, as we can see here, it still continues to trade within this downwards moving channel here, and this channel has been running here since around September 2017. So a couple of more months, and we're gonna be like for a full year here in this channel, unless, like I said, if it doesn't get out of this channel before September, the beginning of September or something like that. So this is how it's looking on the bigger picture. Certainly we can see on the slightly shorter term, we're kind of getting supported here by this upside trend line, which has been running here since around the 29th of May. Certainly we could maybe see a bit of a move lower in order to test that trend line again, but for that, of course, we would need to see a nice move here below this 0.88 mark, this nice round 0.88 figure, and then we could probably only then we could consider a drop here towards this upside trend line, or let's call it probably more support line, this short-term support line up. Yep. But also don't forget about the upper side of this longer term channel, downwards moving channel, which we're not far from. You can see that on the 9th, on Monday, we managed to almost we were not far from this upper side of it, and still, but nevertheless, I mean, still we fell shy of a few pips away from touching that side, of course, and we could actually see another attempt here to make a move towards this upper side. We're not far from it, so keep an eye on this one next week, and let's actually put a 4-hour chart on this one, just to kind of potentially maybe position ourselves for something here. Let me just kind of adjust this and shift it a little bit lower, and there we go. So you see, this is the reason why I'm not a huge fan of this pair, but nevertheless, I still kind of look at it. If you could potentially draw something like this, maybe like a downwards moving resistance line here, and maybe you could start looking at these levels. So potentially, let's say if we do get a nice break here above this, maybe then this could open the path towards higher levels, and the higher, of course, this upper side of the downwards moving range. Downwards moving channel, I do apologize. So of course, only on the break of this resistance line, we could start examining the upper side. But then again, at the same point, we do have some good areas of potential resistance at around the 0.88 level, and then of course the highs that we had here on Monday at around 0.89 mark. So approximately there, just maybe a few points, a few pips kind of slightly above it, but nevertheless the 0.89 proved to be quite a good area of resistance. You can see that currently we are moving lower. This 4-hour chart here now, this 4-hour candle is kind of moving lower here, finding its support around 50 EMA, shown here as the red line. And the question here is, are we going to continue breaking it and move towards this 100 that also kind of acts as a nice area of support? Will we actually get something like this, or is this going to just reverse back up again and move higher? So that's why it becomes a bit really a tricky pair to trade sometimes, to be honest, because it just can move anywhere at any point in time, and yep, and a lot of people gonna get stopped out on this one. So for now, probably stick to the bigger picture. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at and see if it actually reaches this upper side of this falling channel, and if we do get a touch here, this is where it could become interesting, because this is where the bulls and the bears would start fighting it out and trying to battle it out, and see who's going to actually dictate the fate, let's say like that, the fate of this pair. And if it's going to be the bulls, then we could probably see a change in the trend here, and we could see maybe a push higher here. But nevertheless, for us to kind of become more bullish on this one, we would need to see a nice push here above this 0.89700 in order to kind of consider further upside moves. So, but of course, this is still far away from here, so let's see if it actually reaches the upper side of this downwards moving channel. Another quite interesting pair that I really want to show you guys is the Euro Swedish Crown, and for this one, well, actually, before I jump into the 4-hour chart, we can see that still we are moving higher here. We're still getting held here by this long-term upwards moving trend line that has been running since around the 15th of September 2017. Certainly, we do have now a slightly shorter term upwards moving support line, probably more of a tentative support line, but still, nevertheless, we can draw this one here and see which probably maybe in the future could act as a very good area for a potential test here if this reverses back to the downside. But before we actually start looking at the downside, this is what I wanted to show you guys, and this is why it's becoming a bit more interesting, and especially more interesting for the bulls, because you can see that this is a 4-hour chart, and today we were stuck here in this little range here between this level here, between the 10.335 mark and this 10.370, so approximately there. So we had a nice pop here through the upside. We can see that the rate kind of tried to move lower here. It tried to make a move below below this level, below this 10.370. Certainly we can see that the bulls kind of managed to bring it back up here. Of course, you can argue here and say that, yep, the 4-hour candle is not finished yet, so that's why probably my recommendation here is going to be to keep on monitoring this level. If we stay above this level, then there is some potential for this one to actually continue pushing higher and maybe actually making its way back towards the these highs that we had here on around the 2nd of July, and these levels were around the 10.47 and 10.48. So nice area to keep on monitoring, and especially if we do get a nice pop here above this one, above the 10.393 area. So if we do get a nice pop through this side, then yep, we could eventually start considering these levels that I was just talking about, seen here on the 2nd of July. And this, like I said, and this also would support this upside, the short-term upside support line that we've drawn here, and we could see maybe a move here, a test of this area, and then from which this could return back down. Certainly, I'm now purely speculating here, but nevertheless, could be seen something like that, and then in that case we could maybe form an ascending triangle on this picture. But for now, certainly take it as it is. Right now. Let's keep an eye on this 10.37 mark. Let's see what it wants to do with it today. If it gets back, let's say if the day is going to close below this level again, then, well, probably stay sharp, because this is the range. This is going to be the range to monitor, to keep an eye on, especially going into next week. Another pair that I really wanted to quickly touch on is the AUDNZD. Now, this is where it's looking quite interesting, and especially looking at the daily chart. We are here, it seems like we're creating a new trend here, and so we've been here in this downwards moving trend for quite a while here, since around November 2017, then managed to reverse and push higher on around April time, around mid-April, and now we can see that this continuation is happening, and currently testing this key area of resistance at around 1.0965, 700, something like that. So 1.09650 approximately there. Keep an eye on that one. If we do get a nice move here and continuation, a push higher, and if we do get a close here above this area, then, well, we could actually end up maybe moving towards these highs that we've seen here at around the 3rd of July, and if these don't hold, well, I mean, we could end up pushing towards the highs that we saw here in January, around the 29th of January this year, and that's around the 1.1075 area approximately there. So a good level to watch, and we can see that we are kind of ready. It seems like it's getting ready for a pop. And on the bigger picture here, if you want to take maybe a longer term trade here, so you could eventually maybe position yourself for a move higher here above this 109,900 area approximately there, with a potential stop loss, a tight stop loss somewhere around this area right here at around 109,350, something like that, just to kind of allow a bit of room for maneuver, and aim for the for this level initially, the 1.1075 area approximately there. So you could eventually maybe do something like this. Don't get me wrong, you could maybe just protect yourself and exit this this position earlier at around maybe 109,500. Could be something, could be a nice stop loss here, and this way you could actually maybe, you know, protect yourself and exit the position earlier. So but nevertheless, again, guys, I mean, this is looking like a nice trade here, and potentially we could end up pushing higher. And one last pair that I really wanted to touch on before I run out of time, and that is the US dollar against the Turkish lira. Now, certainly a lot of weakness here in the Turkish lira. It continues to kind of push higher here, but yesterday we saw this reversal, and today we're just stuck here nowhere, and we are probably going to close the day and with a small bodied candle here on the daily chart. So it found its nice resistance at around this level right here. Let me just quickly highlight that, and that level was approximately around a 4.93 mark. So found this nice resistance. Certainly next week, keep an eye on this area as well, this potential area of support that acted as a nice area of resistance here on the 24th and the 25th of May. And if we do get a nice break here below this level, and this level is around the 4.81 mark, if we do get a nice break here below, this is where it could be a bit interesting, because we could start moving lower here, initially towards this 21 EMA shown here as the yellow line on the daily chart. And then maybe we could start targeting the 4.68, and certainly you probably understand the logic where I'm going here. And if we continue breaking these levels, then we do have this upside support line, this short-term upside support line that has been running here, or actually probably midterm, since 7th of March this year. So we could end up maybe testing that line here, but only of course if we start breaking these levels that I was just talking about to you guys. Something to keep an eye on, like I said, if this 493 mark doesn't hold, is not able to kind of withhold this the rate from accelerating again, then, well, I mean, we could start hitting these highs again, and this could turn out to be quite ugly for the Turkish lira. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you have a good US session for those who are trading the US markets, and for those who have finished, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And if you want to join me on Monday morning, please do. And that's 6 o'clock GMT time, 7 o'clock British Summer Time for my JFD Brokers Traders Espresso. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.